With news of the Titan experiencing a catastrophic implosion, what exactly does this mean? If you're asking what exactly happened, here's what, in the most succinct form I can put it. The CEO of the company had this sub built using carbon fiber wrapped around a mandrel, a methodology used for pressure vessels. The problem is that this kind of design resists pressure from the inside because carbon fiber is strong in tension, not compression. It is not proven for resisting pressure from the outside trying to crush it, and the material theory governing fiber-wound vessels suggests that it would fail. But he broke the rules in the name of innovation. He was widely criticized by the submarine community for this, but he forged ahead. See James Cameron explain this. They were warned that their decisions would lead to people dying, but they pushed ahead anyway. Carbon fiber and epoxy composite systems do not fail gradually. When they fail, they snap or shatter because they tend to be very stiff and brittle, and failure happens by delamination, where the layers of epoxy and fiber separate, since they have different stress-strain curves under extremely high loads. Upon delamination, carbon fiber composites lose all their strength. Here is a hydraulic press trying to bend a carbon fiber rod to failure versus titanium and other materials. That moment you hear a snap is when it fails. But unlike a slow-moving hydraulic press that needs to keep moving to do more damage, the deep sea would have continued to squish the thing all the way in upon the first moment of failure with unrelenting speed. Notice how it hardly bent at all. Strain gauges are useless if you can't detect any strain. The moment any noticeable strain shows up, the material has already failed. At the depths they had descended to, the pressure on the hull would have been around 2,800 psi, pounds per square inch, nearly a ton and a half per square inch. Translated to pounds per square feet, 144 square inches, that's 403,200 pounds per square foot. For comparison, the atmosphere is at about 15 psi, an instant pot reaches about 30 psi, and an inflated tire is about 32 psi. The pressure of a CO2 cartridge is 800 psi. When that hull failed, it likely crushed inward faster than the speed of sound in air. Either that, or the first crack that formed led in a thin jet of water comparable to that of a water jet cutter that sliced whoever and whatever was near it into pieces. Basically, a catastrophic implosion means they likely didn't even have time to react in any substantive way to the first signs of failure before they were doomed. At best they tried to release the ballast to return to the surface as soon as they heard a loud snap or a bang from the carbon fiber delaminating and died very shortly after due to the hull collapsing. At worst, they instantaneously became salty meat paste at supersonic speed with no warning at all. When air is compressed that hard that quickly, it heats up to incredible temperatures due to adiabatic heating. The volume of air in that sub slamming into a tiny volume from all sides at such speed would have instantaneously heated up to thousands of degrees in a brief incandescent flash as the implosion incinerated everything in the sub before the water quenched it all. Here is a great video explaining the massive stack of stupid decisions by the company that would make any experienced submariner wince. Sub-brief The Titan tragedy TLDR list of the major stupid things they did is as follows. Use of carbon fiber pressure hull. Deliberately hires young, inexperienced technicians because young people are more inspirational. No subject matter. Experts on submarine operations and safety on staff. Does not use lessons learned from NASA and aviation community past tragedies. Possible that the atmospheric life support system was not tested. Test depth of 4,000 m was not tested at sea before first commercial dive. No way to ventilate the pressure hull. It's just a sealed bottle with one opening that is bolted with 17 bolts. No emergency breathing provisions, such as oxygen candles or other such equipment. No voice communications, on purpose. CEO hated being interrupted by voice comms when he was in the zone during a deep dive. So voice comms were deliberately left off the submarine. Communications were lost during testing but were later recovered during the ascent, and in fact were lost on every descent. But because comms were recovered after being lost, this was regarded as normal thing to expect rather than a serious problem that needed to be fixed. So when communications were lost this time, the surface crew waited 12 hours thinking this was normal before getting worried and calling the Coast Guard. That's 12 hours lost that they'll never get back. Stockton Rush, CEO, was warned by an engineer he hired to assess the safety of the Titan submersible, but when the engineer assessed that his sub was a death trap, he was promptly fired.